What up, motherfuckers? It's your boy, the hater, up in this piece, and we're gonna be talking about AEW results and CM Punk. Honestly, it's mostly gonna be a CM Punk rant, but the show was so poor that I can't really not address it. You know, it was so bad, especially considering that up until these last 2, maybe 3 weeks, AEW was doing very well in my opinion, and now they're doing pretty shitty. So I have to address it. You know, the CM Punk thing is a bit more pertinent. I would say more prevalent, I might say, but you know, this show has to be talked about, right? Especially because it's the go home show. If you don't count AEW Rampage, which obviously I don't, before All Out, which I might go to, by the way, but we'll see. Couple of things before we get started. The hater reboot up in this bitch going strong. We're gonna do a mix of newer shit, some overlapping shit, and maybe some burial videos, depending on who I feel like burying, you know what I'm saying? So we're going to talk about that later at another time. But for now, let's focus on the AEW Dynamite episode that aired last night. Am I right? The first match we had, and the first segment at all, was FTR with Tully Blanchard, motherfuckers, versus Santana and Ortiz. Okay, the 4 guys in this match are not complete shit, right? I mean, FTR, I think, is just like a boring tag team. Like, they're not entertaining. You know what I mean? Santana and Ortiz, kind of on the same page. Like, they're not entertaining. They can paint their faces, but they don't look like badasses, right? But that's neither here nor there. In terms of in-ring ability, all 4 of these guys are at least a C-minus player, you know? We don't have any E-level players in this match, you know? However, the match, despite the fact that JR and everybody else on commentary kept saying this is a great match. By the way, JR keeps changing like who the best tag team in the world is like every 5 minutes, you know? At one point it's FTR, then it might be Santana and Ortiz. And then once the match ends, they're like, oh, it's actually Young Bucks or the Lucha Bros, depending on who wins. It's like completely disingenuous, but that's neither here nor there. The real problem I have with this match was the match itself. The match was just not good. There were a few, and when I say a few, I mean like 5 or 6 moments in a 15-20 minute match that really were shitty, you know? And I will list some of them right now, the ones that are worth mentioning. First of all, Santana and Ortiz seem to have like a new finisher, right? It's like basically like a reverse flapjack where they like hook the guy's arm and flip him and he lands on his belly and face, right? It wasn't a bad move, but they did it at one point and it didn't get the 3 count, you know? Typically finishers get the 3 count. This time he didn't. I believe the guy kicked out. Beyond that, there were a lot of botched moments. You know, they did a decent job covering some of these botches, but the botches were obvious. At one point, Ortiz was going to charge into the corner, and he just kind of stopped and started punching the guy because they had a miscommunication. Another one was the referee tried his best to cover for this mistake, but there was a point when like they hit the big rig, and I think it was Dax Harwood went for the pin, and the spot was going to be that Santana jumps from the top rope, hits Cash Wheeler, who then falls and breaks up the pin. But because they were completely out of sync, like that whole like 30-second, 1-minute spot with the superplex was just a clusterfuck. It was just bad, right? It was just bad. And basically he kind of missed his cue, so the referee has to like while Dax is covering Ortiz, the referee has to like hesitate and not count because he has to make sure that he can count only up to 2 before the pin is broken up, right? And it felt so bad. It's like nobody mentioned it on commentary. Like, what the hell is the ref doing? He's not counting. He should be counting, right? The whole spot was like a 0 out of 10 because there was a point. Basically, the spot was going to be a superplex into like a frog splash, right? But there was going to be some theatrics and some interference. So as Dax Harwood is going through the superplex, Cash Wheeler climbs the turnbuckle. Then he realizes that Santana's on the other side of the ring. So instead of continuing to climb the turnbuckle and hit the move, he's forced to run to the other turnbuckle, the one that is perpendicular to the one where he was at. So he goes diagonally and climbs the other turnbuckle, right? So it wasn't like he climbed the turnbuckle that was next to it. He climbed the perpendicular one. In other words, the positioning would be the same. So him doing this was really stupid. He basically did it so that Santana could interfere, and it was so see-through. This is what's bad about AEW. Like, the level of, like, actual understanding is sometimes really low, even with decent wrestlers. The match wasn't good. The only good thing that came out of this was that Santana and Ortiz won, you know, because these guys have been jobbing forever, and they deserve a win, you know? It seems, honestly, like Santana and Ortiz are not part of the inner circle anymore, you know? I know that they are, but it seems like they're not. They come out with their own music. They have their own little sub gimmick, and same can be said about FTR, you know, or the Pinnacle in general. The Pinnacle is basically just MJF and Wardlow. That's what it is, you know. And then like Shawn Spears is there, like they're all kind of segmented, you know. I don't know how I feel about this. Next up, we have CM Punk addresses the AEW fans, right? He comes out, they keep hyping this up. The reaction from CM Punk was pretty shitty. The reaction to CM Punk was okay, but it was way less than it was 2 nights before, or 2 episodes before, right? This wasn't good. CM Punk came out, and he was just going to talk to the fans. It's like nobody even knew what he was going to say. You know, like, what could he say? What more is there to say, right? So the fact that they hyped this up was really, really poor, in my opinion. But we'll talk about this in detail, right? Long story short, Darby Allin and Sting come and save him from Danny Garcia in 2.0. Who Danny Garcia, nobody knows who the fuck this guy is. 2.0 were jobbers on NXT, losing to Breezango. And these guys are now, like, in the same program with Sting. You know, what the fuck is going on? Like, imagine being a long-haired guy from 2.0 and, like, you're like, oh, shit, I'm in the ring with Sting. Last week, I was in the ring with Kushida, you know? Wow, I've moved up big time by moving to this shittier company. Anyways, then we have Orange Cassidy versus Jack Evans in a throwaway garbage match. Orange Cassidy wins with a roll-up. Nobody cares at all. Jim Ross interviews Jericho. This is always going to be good. Jericho is always good on the stick. The whole point of this is basically like just to remind everyone that this might be Jericho's last match. You know, I don't know. It's obviously not going to be his last match, even if MJF wins, which I could see that happening. I could see MJF getting the rub here. I mean, do I think it's a good idea? No, I think it's a horrible idea. I think it's an atrocious idea to give MJF like the rub here. But, you know, they might, right? So who cares? Then we have Brian Cage versus Powerhouse Hobbs in what is a match with good storyline, at least for my AEW standards, but which didn't feel like one. It didn't feel like that kind of match. You know what I'm saying? Powerhouse Hobbs won, which honestly validates the fact that like Brian Cage should have been bounced out of here like long before, right? It's like I don't understand the Brian Cage character because he's not handling this betrayal correctly. He's not like going out there whooping their ass. He's just getting his ass beat. You know, I understand there was interference, but who cares? You know, it doesn't mean anything to me. Then we had what I personally thought was the best part of the night, honestly. QT Marshall and The Factory come out, and they call out Big Show, who's awesome, right? Big Show goes in there and starts whooping that ass, but then, you know, The Factory there's a lot of them. So Big Show has to be saved by Billy and his sons, Billy Gunn and his sons, right? Billy Gunn then turns heel by hitting Big Show with a steel chair, and then whoops his ass with another one. QT Marshall picks him up and hits the cutter, and that's that, right? This is great. A lot of people aren't going to like this because they're like, I don't want to see this match. I don't want to see Big Show versus QT Marshall. You should want to see that match. QT Marshall is one of the best guys they have. This guy can cut a promo, and he has a character. You know what I'm saying? And it's most importantly than all of that, his character is believable, right? He's a guy that gets treated like a jobber, and he's like, why am I being treated like a jobber? I thought Cucky Rhodes was my friend, right? If anything, I would put like Brandon Cutler with him and just make like a jobber, like, you know, like the Job Squad. And basically, like, the whole thing is like, yo, we're tired of like being your asses, right? Because that's what's happening. Cody Rhodes is like, it's my company, but I'm gonna hire a friend, but he's gonna get his ass beat every week because, you know, he's my friend and he's gonna do what I say. I'm the one that needs to come out looking good. So QT Marshall, the fact that he's getting a spot to cut promos and do things is great. QT Marshall, I like the kid. You know, he ain't bad. But Billy Gunn looks like $1 million. Billy Gunn has to be in his mid-50s. It really is a shame that Billy Gunn has never been a world champion. It really is a shame. Holy shit, he's 57, motherfucks. 57, this guy looks like a beast. Billy Gunn, in my opinion, should become AEW champion. There, motherfucks, I said it. The badass Billy Gunn needs to become world champion. And here's why, motherfucks. Here's why, okay? It's very important to me that the right people get the right kind of rub. I know that he's an old bag, but let's be real. Let's be real, motherfucks. Do you think that there's any universe in which someone like Aleister Black can beat up 57-year-old Billy Gunn? No. Here's what would happen. Billy Gunn would grab him, slam his head on the ground 20, 30 times, and then before Aleister Black dies, he'd probably hit a Fame-asser on him just for added humiliation, okay? I think Billy Gunn deserves a push. I know I'm going to be alone in this, but Billy Gunn is awesome, and he always has been awesome, and he has looked the part. Billy Gunn was obviously a missed opportunity by WWE. Billy Gunn, if they knew that he was going to be what he is today, still, you know what I mean? They would have made him a champion, no doubt about it. Look at him. You know what I'm saying? Look at him. He could still go and wrestle in WWE. Like, he's legit. So with that being said, I really enjoy this because I like Billy Gunn, and I want to see him and his sons be used in any capacity. I don't care if they're heels or faces or champions or not, but I want to see them used because Billy Gunn entertains me. He entertains me more than Angelico or Jack Evans or the Butcher. You know what I'm saying? Like, why do we have the Butcher and the Blade when we have Billy Gunn? Like, who needs to see the Blade? Who the fuck cares about the Blade? He's just like a dude. He's in good shape, but he has no character. His name is the Blade. Billy Gunn is a legend, motherfuckers. So that was pretty cool. Then we have Tainara Conchi versus Penelope Ford. This is a useless match. The whole point of this was Anna Jay is back, and she's going to be in the Women's Battle Royal. Who gives a flying fuck? Next up, we had an 8-man tag team match. It was the Jurassic Express and the Lucha Bros versus the Elite, which was the Good Brothers and the Young Cucks. Right? Or was Brandon Cutler involved? To be honest, this match I kind of stopped watching. Like, I had it on my phone and I was playing some video games and I was like, fuck this, I'm just gonna listen to it. So I don't know. All I do know, motherfucks, is that the Elite wins. Right? That's what happened. I think, motherfuckers. So and then Kenny Omega had like a beatdown of Christian. Who cares? That's one reason why I don't want to go to All Out, other than the fact that it's a waste of money. But it's like, I know what's gonna happen. You know what I'm saying? Like, Christian Cage is not gonna beat Kenny Omega. Like, Darby Allin is not going to beat CM Punk. This is a throwaway pay-per-view in many ways. You know, the matches might be good, but a match is not good if you know who's going to win. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know how I know that? Go watch, like, Super Bowl 2005. No one will. You know why? Because you know what the fuck happened. So who the fuck cares, right? But anyways, the show was garbage. It was a 2 out of 10 at best. It was a bad go-home show. The right people weren't involved. The main event felt like a shitty match. It's an 8-man tag at the end of the day. The only good part was Billy Gunn, Big Show, and QT Marshall. Everyone else is garbage. Also, I want to point out that Britt Baker, the fact that she wrestles only on pay-per-views now is atrocious. She's not as good as she pretends to be. She really isn't. She's good for an AEW wrestler, but she's not this, like, great wrestler by any means. She botches a lot. She's sloppy. She's not great, you know? She's not spectacular. But whatever. It is what it is. It's part of her character. She's one of the better ones, so I'll give her props. But I want to see more of her, you know what I'm saying? Now, let's talk about CM Punk a little bit, motherfucks. Let's talk about CM Punk. Actually, you know what? Let's not. We'll do that in another video because that deserves its own spot. So look forward to that video, cunt bitches.